What's going on, guys? Chad here with Green Light Shooting. It's been a minute and it feels really good to be back. So we're starting off with a new gun. So this is a gun made by Matrix Arms. They call this their MX19. Listen, man, these guys reached out to me on Instagram. They said, we like what you're doing with the channel. We think we have a really good gun. Can we send you one out? So let's get that out of the way right out of the gate. Yes, they sent this to me. I did not pay for this. That being said, they didn't pay me for this video. There's no money being exchanged. I have no script. There's nothing specific I need to talk about. So take that for what it's worth. But I'm trying to give this thing as objective of a review as possible. Now, with all that being said, I gotta say, I get sent a lot of guns, man. And there's a lot of guns that don't even see the light of day just because I don't want to, whatever, they're not worth making a video on. Or maybe I make the video on and it just goes in my safe and I kind of forget about them. This is one of the very first guns that I'm genuinely stoked on. This gun has replaced my day-to-day carry. This is something I feel really, really good carrying, shooting. I'm a big fan of it. So, like I said, take it for what it's worth, but maybe let's back up here. Let's talk about some of the objective overview stuff about the gun so you have an idea of what it is we're talking about. Then we'll go into why I like it so much, and we'll wrap up from there. So anyways, like I said, this gun is made by a company called Matrix Arms. This is their MX19. It is an all aluminum frame gun built on the familiar Glock 19 platform, and it's actually built entirely in the USA at their headquarters in New Hampshire. So, that's really cool. I obviously love supporting local businesses. So yeah, big ups to them for that. Now, as I said, being built on the Glock platform, it is compatible with Glock 19 Gen 3 slides, parts, magazines. This is just your standard OEM 15-round Glock 19 magazine. But there are some really significant differences in this gun compared to a lot of the other, we'll call them Gucci Glocks out there, right? So this one, obviously aluminum frame. So that's a big thing. You're not running a standard Glock 19 frame with a high-end slide or something like that. Like, this is a proper new take on the platform. So aluminum frame, but then the actual grip angle here is a 1911 grip angle. So I love that for me personally because I learned on 1911s. So I find myself able to come up. My natural point of aim is always there. I can find my dot first time. I can find my front sight every time. It's just, it's something that I feel really, really good shooting, holding. It feels like it has a good grip in my hand. And the grip angles, I don't know. I don't claim to be some, really high-end expert shooter or anything, so I can't articulate maybe why I like this grip angle over the other. All I know is that my natural point of aim, when I bring this thing up, I see my dot. Now, something to talk about here with the metal chassis is polymer frames. There's a lot of flex and distortion when you shoot those. And because of that flex and distortion, you can't have near as tight of tolerances because it has to be able to flex and it can't be really, really tight. So the fact that they went with a metal chassis on this one means that they can incorporate very, very tight tolerances. And that's a big deal because it means that it's going to be more accurate to shoot. And you can certainly feel the tighter tolerances. I mean, it almost feels like you're holding like a staccato or something, just in a Glock platform. Like, the slide to frame fit is very, very flush. The slide has such a smooth cycling feel to it. It almost feels like a 2011 that you can just sit here and, it's got like a really good butter feel across the slide. But because of that also, while you're shooting it, man, you can feel it. Like, it feels like a very, very different gun. And a big reason for that is because it doesn't have to account for that flex and distortion in the recoil cycle. Now, speaking of recoil, they do have a couple upgrades in this gun. So they have a patent pending recoil reducing buffer, as well as, listen, I'm not gonna lie, the gun's freaking heavy, man. It is a very solid gun. And maybe it's because you see this style gun, you expect to grab it and it to feel like, your standard polymer setup, but it doesn't. This thing has some heft to it. So because of the balance between the metal slide and the metal frame, as well as that recoil reducing buffer in there, obviously we've got a couple different cuts on the slide and things like that here. Like, you're feeling a very, very balanced, smooth shooting gun. And I gotta say, it shoots very, very flat. Like, in my experience shooting Glock 19s, they're just kind of snappy, you know, like no matter what you do to them, at least out of the box, a Glock 19 or really any 4-inch polymer gun for that matter is kind of snappy. This takes a lot of that snap out. A, it's got the weight. B, it's got the recoil reducing stuff. C, it's got the tighter tolerances. It just feels like a different shooting experience. Now, when you check this thing out on their website, there are 2 different options. So from my understanding, how it works, I think, is there's 2 different base models, and then you can kind of upgrade from there. So there are 2 different base models. The only difference that I can see is the trigger. So on the heavier trigger option, it is a 6-pound trigger, and you know, it's great for people who want to conceal carry with it or whatever, who aren't familiar with a light trigger, who need the security and the peace of mind of having a good, solid, heavy trigger pull. And then there is this option, which is the light trigger pull. So in this option is a Timney trigger. First of all, shout out to Timney. They make fantastic triggers, such good triggers. This one is absolutely no different. So this is their 3-pound light alpha competition trigger. It's flat, it's beautiful, still got your little safety on the front here, so you know you're not pulling it on the side if something gets in your holster or whatever. Like you know, this thing still needs a finger coming all the way from the front of it to pull, but it's a very light trigger. It's a 3-pound pull. It's meant for, you know, fast shooting, competition shooting, maybe like a carry optics division or something like that in competition. And you can certainly still carry with this trigger as well. It's just going to be a lighter trigger pull. So it's all about comfort. It's all about subjectivity, what you train with, what you're comfortable with. And that's why they give you the 2 options. So I love that. I love this trigger though. It is such a nice trigger. Then I mentioned you can sort of pick a few different upgrades after you've chosen that base model that you want to go with. One of the main upgrades is the slide here. So I believe they have 3 different slide options. They have their standard base model slide, which is going to be their heaviest. And then they have this one, which is the Delta slide. As you can see, it has, you know, a few different cuts on it, some designs, things like that. And then additionally, they have their Aero slide, which I believe is their lightest slide, more skeletonized than the others, we'll say. Keep in mind, on the lighter slides, you'll need a heavier guide rod to be able to cycle consistently. I believe that's something they have on their website or they're currently working on. But I'll say in terms of reliability, I had 0 malfunctions with this slide. I took it straight out of the box. I didn't clean it. I didn't oil it. We went straight to the range to film the B-roll and stuff for this. I wanted to put this thing through the paces. I put like a couple hundred rounds through it. I didn't experience a single malfunction. I was shooting your standard 9mm, 115 grain ammo right out of the box. Like, nothing weird, nothing special, and 0 malfunctions. So very, very happy with the way that it performs. You can also see that I have an optic on here as well. At the range, I shot this thing straight out of the box, as I mentioned, so I did not have an optic on it. This slide specifically comes with Trijicon night sights for the iron sights, and then I went ahead and threw on a hollow sun after that range experience. I would take it off for the video, but it's all Loctited down, so you know, it's too much of a pain. I want to keep it there. But I love that it comes optic ready. In today's world, that's just what it is, man. You throw an optic on your gun. It's kind of a standard. This came pre-cut with an RMR footprint. I threw on hollow sun because that's what I have on all my guns. I just like to keep things consistent. And you know, yeah, big fan of that. I think every gun should be optic ready. Whether you want to run them or not, it should just have a plate that comes with it. If you want to run them, great. If not, it gives you the option. So I love the fact that it comes optic ready. And this is the box that it comes in. So, you know, you guys know me. I'm a sucker for good packaging. So I love the fact that they've got a nice big personalized carry box here. It's got all laser cut foam. The gun comes in there just like that. Obviously, like I said, without an optic. It came with an interchangeable grip. I believe it's the same grip, just a different color. I really kind of like that color though, personally. Comes with 2 different magazines, one really large magazine that YouTube doesn't like me showing, and then, you know, your standard 15 rounder. It comes with an air freshener, which is kind of interesting. A couple keychains. Your standard stuff, a lock, a little bit of Loctite here, a different guide rod, and then also some CLP. They did say that this gun loves a thin lube like a CLP, so yeah, I mean, pretty standard. You got a bunch of different manuals and things like that in the box as well. But just the fact that they took the time to deliver this in a customized laser cut box at this price point, I think is pretty impressive. So let's get into my personal thoughts on this thing. As I said, I took this into the range and I really ran it through its paces. I've had this for 2 or 3 weeks, a couple different range visits, and I've carried with it almost every single day. It's a big deal because, when a gun is sort of meant as a carry option, I want to actually carry with it for a while to see how it feels. Now, the gun's heavy. I'm not gonna lie, I told you that. But I think as long as you're using a good holster, a good belt setup, things like that, I don't really notice the difference in weight when it comes to carrying a gun. So not a big deal for me there. The weight just helps when you draw and shoot. Obviously, it's keeping everything flatter and more consistent for me. So I don't mind carrying a heavier gun as long as it's still in this platform. So it's a Glock 19 setup, which is very easy to carry for me. I'm used to carrying a Glock 19. I would say that for me, for my body style, for the way that I carry, this is certainly more of a fall-winter carry, something that I need like a flannel or something over. But, it's not the end of the world to carry with something like this in the summer either. Now, as far as shooting it, I loved shooting this. I genuinely did, man. Like a Glock 19, I've had a Glock 19 forever. I've had souped up Glock 19s. I've had Glock 17s, 34s, whatever, the whole thing. And this shoots as flat and as consistent and as comfortably as any gun that I own. It is very fun to shoot. The trigger allows you to run it really, really fast or really precisely. It's such a dialed trigger that I can break one shot and feel very, very good about the accuracy and things like that. Or, I can consistently follow up, hit rapid fire shots. And the trigger can keep up with really any pace that you want to push it to, far exceeding my own ability. A few other pros, I like the stippling on the grip here. It feels like a good mix between aggressive enough to give you a good grip without kind of digging into your hands too much. I like the angle on the grip, all that we already talked about, being able, natural point of aim, finding my dot, stuff like that. It's got a slightly flared magwell, which I like a lot. Allows for really, really quick reloads without sacrificing concealability. Sometimes you get really flared magwells and they end up printing more than others. I think this one is a good option. Now, as far as some cons, honestly, I don't have a ton. The few that I do have, number one, the grip is really wide this way, and it's just something to get used to. I don't know that I would call it a con, but it's an entirely different grip than a Glock, and it's just maybe when you look at this gun, you expect it to feel and look like a Glock, and it's not quite that. So when I hold this gun normally, I can't quite reach that mag release, so I have to actually rotate my hand just a hair to be able to drop that mag. It would be really dope to have this thing maybe just a smidge bigger for me, but that's kind of personal preference, just my hand size. But if I'm being honest with you, that's kind of the only con that I have, at least in terms of what this gun is meant to do. This gun is meant to compete with other 4-inch handguns. It is meant to be able to shoot fast competition, to be able to also conceal carry comfortably, all of those things. So when you're trying to find a gun that'll do kind of everything well, I don't really have any complaints about this gun. It is extremely reliable. It shoots flat. It shoots fast. Fantastic trigger. Standard Glock parts. If I want to switch stuff out, comes optic ready. Night sights. It's got a pick rail here if I want to throw, like a Surefire on it or something like that. It's got a lot of really great stuff going for it. And one of the last things that I like about this gun is that it fits in a standard Glock 19 holster. Now that might not sound like a big deal, but anytime I've gotten, a pimped out Glock 19 build, it doesn't fit in a Glock 19 holster. It needs a proprietary holster. And you guys know that I roll with crossbreed holsters. So I have 2 different Glock 19 holster options here. And I love that I can just throw this in there. It's already optic cut. I have my second mag just like that. So if I'm carrying like appendix, man, that's the way to go. I've got a little claw right here that's going to wrap this in. The grip isn't super flared or anything, printing. This is how I've been carrying 90% of the time. The other option is if I want to have a light thrown on it right here, which, it's kind of ridiculous. It sticks out quite a bit. But if I wanted to carry it like this, I can. Once again, in a standard Glock 19 holster built for a Glock 19 with a Surefire. So, I love that fact. Quick shout out to Crossbreed, by the way. Both of these are Crossbreed holsters. This is their Rogue system. This is their LDS holster. As always, 10% off anything Crossbreed down in the description below. But yeah, man, this is kind of the new carry for me. This is the new go-to. If I'm going to the range just to have fun and shoot, that's the gun I've got with me. If I'm going to be carrying a gun, specifically right now when I can wear flannels and stuff like that, this is what I'm carrying. So I feel really good about this thing. As I mentioned, manufactured in the USA. They have a lifetime warranty on this gun. Fits standard Glock 19 holsters. Price-wise, we did not talk about price-wise. So there are two. So on the two base options that we talked about, they have the 6-pound trigger, which is coming in at $1,000, $999 on the website right now. And then this one with the enhanced trigger, the 3-pound light Timney trigger, is coming in at $1,135. Like, that's a crazy good price for this thing, man. When I saw this, I was expecting it to be competing with like the Zevs and stuff like that, out there pushing $2,000. So the fact they're coming in at $1,000 and $1,135, I mean, and they come with the case, it's all custom made, it's all laser cut. Like, I think these guys are doing something really, really right. So anyways, that's kind of the review on the Matrix Arms MX19. Big fan of it, man. Really enjoyed it. If you guys like this video, please hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you are new around here. Leave me a comment, man. Let me know what you think. What's your current carry, the fall, the winter time carry? And let me know if this would be an option for you. So shout out to these guys for sending the gun out. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'll see you next time on Green Light Shooting. Peace out.